The classroom on Station Viral 9 was silent except for the low hum of the holographic projector. Dozens of alien cadets sat in perfect rows, their eyes, lenses, and antennae fixed on the glowing star map floating in the air. The suns and planets spun slowly in an elegant dance, until one human hand started tapping against a metal desk. Cadet Ryan Cole wasn't trying to be annoying. He just couldn't stand how slow Professor Crix was talking. The insectoid's mandibles clicked rhythmically as he droned on, his translator projecting a dry, metallic voice. The Trisol system, he said, is of no known cultural origin, empty of habitation, a region without recorded claim. Ryan frowned. The map rotated, showing 3 suns locked in each other's gravity, a bright golden primary, a smaller red, and a faint white star on the edge. He knew that pattern. He had seen it before, not in a textbook, but on his mother's old holo charts. That's not Trisol, he whispered to himself. Professor Crix's wings fluttered as he zoomed in on the hologram. As you can see, no intelligent species has ever charted this cluster. Ryan's hand stopped tapping. His pulse picked up. He could almost hear his mother's voice from years ago, late nights under the old observatory dome back on Earth. Ryan, this is the shepherd's chain, she used to say. Our ancestors followed these stars to map their first routes through deep space. His jaw tightened. Crix was wrong. The whole lecture was wrong. And yet, all around him, alien cadets nodded, recording data, never questioning a word. Ryan felt heat rise in his chest. Anger, pride, something older than either. That's not true, he said before he could stop himself. The translator's voice froze. The hum of the projector faltered. 40 sets of alien eyes turned toward the single human sitting in the back row. Professor Crix's insectoid head turned slowly. Cadet Cole, he said. Repeat yourself. Ryan stood. His legs shook, but he kept his eyes steady. That system you're calling unclaimed. It isn't empty. Humans mapped it centuries ago. It's called the Shepherd's Chain. It was part of the earliest navigation routes out of Sol. Whispers rippled across the room. One reptilian student hissed softly. Another clicked in disapproval. The professor's mandibles twitched. Your statement contradicts Concord archives, he said. Do you possess verifiable data? Ryan swallowed. My mother worked on it before she died. She proved those charts match human stellar songs and Polynesian navigation logs. You're wrong about this. Crix's compound eyes glowed faintly violet. Unverified myth. Academic institutions require proof, not emotional attachment. Ryan clenched his fists. You want proof? I'll get it. He pointed at the hologram. But mark my words, that whole corridor, every star in it, is part of Earth's legacy. Gasps. The word Earth still carried weight in interstellar space. Some species respected it. Most feared it. The professor's tone sharpened. Cadet, you have just made a territorial claim in an academic setting. Such behavior borders on insubordination. Ryan didn't flinch. Then call what you want. But history doesn't disappear because a few bureaucrats failed to record it. The tension snapped like a wire. The hologram dimmed. The lecture abruptly ended. This session is concluded, Crix said coldly. Cadet Cole, report to the dean's office. As the others filed out, Ryan sat back down, his heart racing. He knew what this meant. His grades, his scholarship, maybe even his citizenship on the station, all at risk. But he couldn't take it back now. His mother had died trying to preserve humanity's lost sky routes, and he wasn't going to let some insect professor erase them. When the classroom finally emptied, the hologram flickered once more. The stars of the Trisol system glowed faintly, as if mocking him. Ryan stared at them and whispered, You're ours, and I'll prove it. Then he stood, shoulders squared, and walked out of the room, straight toward the fight that could make or break humanity's place among the stars. The corridor outside the lecture hall stretched endlessly, its walls lined with glowing panels displaying planetary emblems and expedition banners. Ryan's reflection followed him in the polished metal floor, a single human among hundreds of alien silhouettes walking past, whispering. Word spread fast in Viral 9 Academy. The human had just challenged a professor in front of 40 witnesses. He tried not to look nervous, but his palms were slick. Each step toward the dean's office felt heavier, as if the station's artificial gravity had quietly doubled. When the door slid open, the smell hit him first, like wet stone and rain-soaked soil. Dean Myrtle was not one being, but many. Her body was a weave of translucent vines and fungal threads forming a vaguely humanoid shape that pulsed gently with green light. She spoke through a synthesizer embedded in her central stalk, her voice deep and measured. "Cadet Ryan Cole," she said, "you have caused considerable disruption." Ryan straightened. "With respect, Dean, I only corrected an error." "An error," she repeated slowly, "that resulted in a formal territorial statement broadcast across the Academy network." He swallowed hard. "Because it's true. Humanity mapped that region centuries ago." "My mother." "Your mother," the dean interrupted, "was a researcher without official Concord accreditation. Her data is not recognized in the archives." The light within her core dimmed slightly. "The Cadet Consortium, who funds 70% of our research, has filed a complaint." Ryan's throat tightened. "They own the mining rights to the Trisol region, don't they?" "Correct. So if my claim is right, they lose billions." The dean's voice turned colder. "Be careful, Cadet. That kind of language implies accusation." A hologram flickered to life behind her, a tall avian figure, sleek and iridescent, dressed in corporate black with feathers gleaming like oil in sunlight. The translator softened her tone into something almost motherly. "Cadet Cole," she began, "I am matriarch Citra of the Cadet Consortium. I admire passion, truly, but your enthusiasm has created complications." Ryan's jaw clenched. "The complication is that your data's wrong." Citra tilted her head in amusement. "Then you're welcome to prove it. The Concord allows for territorial challenges if the claimant provide the physical artifact verifying first contact or navigation evidence." Ryan frowned. "An artifact? You mean like an old probe or beacon?" "Precisely," said the dean. "And such proof must be presented before the registrar barge completes its sector cycle." Ryan stepped forward. "How long until it leaves?" 10 Terran days, Citra replied sweetly. "If you fail to provide verifiable evidence before then, your claim and your academic status will be void." He stared at the hologram, his heart pounding. "And if I succeed?" Citra's feathers shimmered. "Then history will need rewriting. But let's not pretend that's likely." The hologram vanished, leaving the faint scent of ozone. Silence filled the room. The dean leaned forward slightly, her vine-like fingers curling. "You have 10 days, Cadet Cole. Either prove your words or face expulsion for falsifying academic data." Ryan nodded slowly. "Understood." Dismissed. As he turned to leave, the door opened automatically, and someone was already waiting outside. A towering figure of polished chrome and dark metal stood motionless, her arms folded neatly across his chest. It was Larek Vaughn, one of Ryan's classmates, half android, half synthetic intelligence, and known for following protocol down to the comma. "You made quite the spectacle," Larek said, voice resonant and low. "Thanks," Ryan muttered. "I'll add that to my list of achievements before I get expelled." Larek's glowing eyes narrowed. "Your claim was procedural chaos. You filed no forms, cited no Concord articles, and embarrassed an instructor with tenure." Ryan sighed. "Yeah, I'm aware. You came to tell me that." Larek paused. "No, I came to tell you this. The consortium filed their claim using a legal loophole created by my own progenitor. They're twisting our judicial framework for profit. I will assist you." Ryan blinked. "Assist me? You're serious?" "I'm incapable of humor," Larek replied. "You have 10 days. I calculate a 6% chance of success without external aid." Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "And with your help?" 11. Ryan chuckled despite himself. "Guess I'll take those odds." Larek extended one arm, pulling up a holographic schematic. A museum appeared, an ancient, domed structure orbiting the moon of Kyra Tau. "The Helios Beacon," he said. "Human design. First generation deep space probe. If it still functions, it could serve as first sky verification. Ryan stared at it, the image glowing against his reflection. A real piece of human history, buried under alien ownership and bureaucracy. 10 days. One chance. He looked up at Larek. Then we're going to steal it. The lights of Viral Nine's lower decks flickered in uneven pulses, painting the corridors in red and blue streaks. Down here, the polished halls of academia turned into humming tunnels of pipes and vents, a place where rules were whispered, not written. Ryan followed Larek through the maintenance levels, the metallic giant walking with machine-perfect precision. "You're sure this is the right place?" Ryan whispered. "Affirmative," Larek said, scanning the corridor. "The individual we need works here during restricted hours. She is unconventional." They stopped at a heavy door marked engineering access, authorized species only. Larek placed a multi-tool appendage against the panel. The lock chirped once and opened with a hiss. Inside, sparks flew as someone welded an engine core the size of a shuttle. A young alien woman lifted her goggles, blinking through the haze. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver, and tiny biolights glowed beneath the surface, veins of color shifting with every breath. "You brought a human here?" she said flatly. "Farah Kell," Larek introduced. "Top engineer in propulsion mechanics. Also known for bending rules." Farah crossed her arms. "Breaking rules, you mean?" Her voice was sharp but not unfriendly. "What do you want, Larek?" Ryan stepped forward. "We need to access an old human beacon, the Helios 1 probe. It's in the Kairatau Museum." Her glowing eyes widened slightly. "You mean steal it?" "Borrow," Ryan corrected quickly. "Just long enough to prove something." Farah laughed softly, shaking her head. "The museum's on a corporate moon under Keratin jurisdiction. You'd need stealth clearance, transport, anti-sensor shielding. And a miracle," Ryan finished. "We'll handle the miracle part." Larek projected the holographic schematic over the floor, a 3D map of the museum's interior. Security rotation occurs every 32 minutes. Only one organic guard per sector, minimal drones due to preservation treaties. Farah crouched, studying the projection. "No automated defenses?" "Correct." The Keratin Consortium argued for cultural sanctity, which ironically limits their own security upgrades. "Hypocrisy at its finest," she muttered. Ryan knelt beside them, tracing the hologram's pathways with his finger. "Here, this old service window, 3rd floor, northern wing. We could cut through." "Material?" Farah asked. "Silicon composite. Probably brittle by now." "Good." Her tone shifted from skepticism to calculation. "I can neutralize the atmospheric sensors with a chemical aerosol. Gives us 10 minutes before they recalibrate." Ryan's pulse quickened. "You can really do that?" "Of course," she said, standing and brushing ash off her sleeves. "But why should I?" Larek's sensors glowed faint orange. "Your younger sibling, Saran Kell, receives medical treatment through Keratin's clinic network. Continued access requires your academic status to remain in good standing. That leverage is unethical." Farah froze, her expression darkening. "You've been digging into my life, Larek." "I've been verifying motivation," he said simply. "Assisting us could expose Keratin's exploitation practices, and perhaps recover a human artifact that might contain medical technology your sister could benefit from." Ryan quickly pulled out his holo device, projecting a rotating image of the Helios beacon. Its brass surface gleamed beneath centuries of wear. "My mother's research mentioned the beacon's biobattery. She believed its energy field could stabilize decaying cells. She just never had the chance to test it." Farah stared at the hologram. The faint lights under her skin shifted from silver to blue, a sign of deep thought. Finally, she exhaled. "If there's even a chance that's true, I'll help. But once it's active, I'm done. I'm not dying for your human pride." Ryan smiled faintly. "Fair enough. I'm not dying for it either. Just betting my future." She grabbed her toolkit, slinging it over her shoulder. "Then we start tonight. I'll need 3 hours to synthesize the neutralizer and disable my university access log. You two handle transport." Larek nodded. I have located a rental atmospheric skimmer capable of low-orbit insertion. It will cost the remainder of your academic stipend. Ryan blinked. All of it? Yes. Consider it an investment in historical truth. Ryan groaned. That's one way to describe financial suicide. Farah smirked as she adjusted her gloves. Then let's make it worth it. Meet me in Bay 12 at 1800, and bring something to carry history with. As she disappeared into the glowing haze of the workshop, Ryan turned to Larek. You really think we can pull this off? Larek's eyes glowed crimson in the dim light. No, he said, but humans are statistically notorious for achieving impossible outcomes. Ryan grinned. Guess we'll just have to live up to the reputation. Outside, the lights of Viral 9 flickered again, as if the station itself sensed what they were planning. The human, the machine, and the engineer were about to do something that could rewrite the galaxy's history. And for the first time in a long while, Ryan felt alive. The shuttle cut silently through the black void, its hull painted with shadows. Ryan sat beside Farah in the cargo hold, both strapped into worn seats as the stars crawled past. Larek piloted from the front, his metallic hands steady on the controls, his eyes glowing with cold blue focus. The Kairatau Museum of First Contact floated ahead like a jewel in darkness. Built centuries ago to honor the galaxy's earliest explorers, it now stood under the ownership of the Cadet Consortium, half monument, half trophy. Its domed structure shimmered in bronze light from the nearby moon, every panel polished to reflect corporate pride. Farah leaned forward, checking her wrist device. Atmospheric pressure consistent. Surface patrols minimal. No drones within 500 meters. Ryan peered through the viewport. Looks quiet. Larek's voice came over the intercom. Silence can be deceptive. Corporate security prefers overconfidence in their opponents. Ryan smirked. Then let's make them overconfident. The shuttle descended through the thin clouds of Kairatau's upper atmosphere, settling near the museum's west wall. The engine powered down to a whisper. Farah grabbed her toolkit and slung it over her shoulder. Larek turned in his seat, face gleaming in the dim light. You each know your roles, he said. 10-minute window. Neutralize sensors. Extract the Helios beacon. Return to vessel. If discovered, remain silent and move toward the emergency hatch. I will handle deterrence. Deterrence? Ryan asked. Non-lethal complications, Larek replied simply. The hatch hissed open. Warm twilight bathed the trio in gold. They moved quickly, their boots crunching on the dusty landing platform. The museum's curved wall towered above them, old polymer glass, its frame dulled with corrosion. Farah unpacked a small cylindrical device. Neutralizer active in 3, 2, 1. She sprayed a fine mist across the window frame. The air shimmered faintly, particles catching the dying sunlight before fading. Sensors will read this as clean atmosphere for 10 minutes, she said. Ryan crouched beside her as she activated a micro saw. The blade hummed softly, slicing through decades of brittle silicone sealant. How's it looking? Like cutting through old paper, she murmured. Give me 2 minutes. He nodded and glanced upward. Through the glass, faint interior lights glowed. He could make out silhouettes of display cases and ancient artifacts, human relics from centuries past. His heart thumped faster. The Helios beacon was in there, the proof his mother had died chasing. Farah eased the cut panel free, sliding it silently onto the lift platform. Windows loose, she whispered. Larek's voice crackled in their earpieces. Proceed. Alarm test begins now. From somewhere inside the museum, a low siren wailed once. Routine maintenance protocol. A single guard on patrol would pause to verify exit locks, drawn away from their location for precisely 3 minutes. Ryan slipped through the window first, landing lightly on the marble floor. The air inside smelled of old metal and preservative gas. He scanned the room, glass cases reflecting faint holographic displays. Artifact from Earth's first star voyages, rusted helmets, fragmented data cores, tattered mission flags. And in the center of the hall stood the Helios 1 beacon. It was smaller than he expected, only a meter tall, bronze plating dulled by centuries, but somehow majestic. Its solar collectors folded like ancient petals around a heart of mirrored crystal. Beautiful, Farah whispered as she climbed through the window. Ryan approached slowly, every step echoing too loud in the empty hall. He reached out and brushed a layer of dust off the metal. The beacon's power core pulsed faintly in response, still alive. He smiled. Told you humans build things to last. Then the base beneath the pedestal beeped. Once. Twice. Wait, Farah hissed, but too late. A pressure sensor triggered a faint red light along the wall. Ryan's stomach dropped. Larek, we've got a problem. Clarify. Sensor trip. Silent alarm likely. I am rerouting the building's surveillance loop. You have 90 seconds before the system recovers. Ryan lifted the beacon carefully, but it was heavier than he imagined. The scar on his palm split, sending a jolt of pain through his hand. The beacon slipped. He caught it, but a small brass ring snapped loose, rolling across the floor before falling out through the open window and clattering onto the lift below. Farah cursed under her breath. That ring's part of the navigation collar. Without it, the beacon can't authenticate. She leaned out the window, spotting the glint of metal 2 stories down on the awning. She grabbed the lift's manipulator controls and lowered the arm, her movements precise and fast. The claw reached, trembling slightly as it neared the fallen piece. Come on, she whispered. The claw closed, gripping the ring just as the building's internal lights flickered. Larek's voice was calm. Security loop restored. Guard returning to standard patrol route in 30 seconds. Copy, Ryan said, clutching the beacon to his chest. We're moving. They slid the window back into place and climbed onto the lift. Farah secured the ring in her satchel while Ryan steadied the beacon. The lift descended smoothly to ground level just as the guard rounded the opposite corner of the museum, his scanner sweeping lazily across the facade. He saw nothing but a maintenance vehicle humming quietly in the twilight. Farah exhaled shakili. We're clear. Larek's voice carried a faint trace of satisfaction. Extraction successful. Return to shuttle. Ryan looked at the beacon in his arms. Heavy, ancient, and glowing faintly like a heartbeat. For the first time, he felt what his mother must have felt when she found those old charts. Awe, pride, and a sense that humanity had just whispered back to the stars. Let's go prove them wrong, he said. The shuttle rose into the night, leaving behind a museum that would wake to silent alarms, unanswered questions, and the first human theft in Carradine space in over a century. The hum of the engines filled the shuttle, a low vibration that ran through the metal hull like a heartbeat. Outside, the moon of Kairatau shrank behind them, its bronze glow fading into the black ocean of space. Inside the cockpit, Ryan sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, gripping the beacon as though it might float away if he let go. Farah worked furiously at a side console, rerouting energy signatures. They'll scan for our ion trail, she muttered. We need to look like debris, not thieves. Larek didn't answer. His mechanical hands moved across the controls with machine precision, guiding the shuttle into the shadow of a drifting asteroid belt. The stars outside blinked and disappeared as chunks of rock swallowed the light. Sensor field engaged, Larek said at last. We are invisible, for now. Ryan exhaled slowly. You think they noticed the beacons missing yet? Farah gave a short, humorless laugh. The second they realized their most expensive artifacts gone, every corporate drone in this sector will be looking for us. Ryan looked down at the Helios beacon resting beside him. Its bronze surface reflected the dim red glow of the emergency lights. Then we moved fast. He leaned closer, noticing faint inscriptions along the base, human writing, old Earth standard. Most of the words were faded, but one phrase was still legible. To chart the dark and prove we were never lost. A shiver ran through him. Mom used to quote that line. Farah glanced up. Your mother was part of the Helios project? She wasn't supposed to be, Ryan said softly. She found fragments of the navigation logs. Everyone called her obsessed. She died trying to decode them. For a moment, the cabin was quiet except for the faint hum of the engines. Then Larek spoke, his voice even but heavier than usual. Her data is now our only chance to authenticate the beacon. The Concord Registrar requires proof of human origin, not mere sentiment. Far aside, pulling up the holographic display. The beacon's verification node is dormant, probably corroded. I'll need to bypass the field locks and reinitialize the core. Ryan looked at her, uncertain. You can do that. She smirked. I've rebuilt entire engines from museum scraps. Give me 5 hours and no explosions. Ryan smiled faintly. No promises on the explosion part. Then Larek's sensors pulsed red. Contact detected. 2 vessels inbound, Cadet patrol class. Estimated intercept in 4 minutes. Fara, Froze. They tracked us already? Negative. Their vector aligns with the beacon's transponder. It is broadcasting. Ryan's eyes widened. It's what? The artifact emits a locator signal, Larek said. Someone reactivated it when you lifted it from its pedestal. Farah slammed her hands on the console. That means they can follow us anywhere. Suggestions? Ryan asked. Larek's optics flare bright. Evasive protocol. Vent atmospheric waste to simulate reactor failure. Then we hide in the asteroid field and power down all non-essential systems. Meaning lights, engines, everything, Farah said grimly. Affirmative. Ryan gritted his teeth. Do it. Larek triggered the release valve. A cloud of frozen gas erupted behind them, sparkling like a dying star. Then the shuttle's lights dimmed to darkness. The hum faded. The 3 of them sat in complete silence as the stars reappeared through the viewport. Moments later, 2 Cadet patrol ships swept past. Their sensor beams glowed faint green, slicing through the asteroid field. One beam passed within meters of the shuttle's hull. Farah held her breath. Ryan did too. The beam lingered, then drifted away. The patrol ships accelerated, their engines flaring blue as they disappeared into the void. Silence again. Then Ryan exhaled, shaky but smiling. I can't believe that worked. It did not work, Larek said flatly. They will return in 12 hours to conduct grid sweeps. We must leave this sector before then. Farah adjusted her headset. Then let's make those 12 hours count. I'm going to get the beacon online. Ryan nodded and lifted the beacon onto the workbench. Farah began connecting energy leads. Her glowing fingers steady despite the tension. Larek monitored the outer field, scanning for movement. When Farah bridged the final connection, the beacon flickered to life. Soft golden light filled the cabin, pulsing gently, like a heartbeat echoing across centuries. Ryan stared at it in awe. It's still alive. The beacon's holographic core spun open, projecting a map of ancient star routes. Thousands of points of light connected by faint lines. And in the center, a familiar pattern. 3 suns locked in orbit. The shepherd's chain. Ryan's chest tightened. That's it. Proof that humans were here first. Farah's voice softened. Your mother was right. Larek leaned closer, his sensors recording. We must reach a Concord relay and transmit this data before the consortium intercepts us. The artifact's signal has already compromised our location. Ryan grinned, his eyes gleaming with determination. Then let's give them a chase they'll never forget. Outside, the asteroid belt began to shift as their engines came alive again, slicing through the darkness. Behind them, faint signals flickered on the scanners, Cadet patrols regrouping. The hunt had begun, and for the first time in the galaxy's history, a single human's defiance was about to rewrite the stars themselves. The hum of the shuttle deepened as it pushed through the outer edge of the asteroid belt. The engines glowed faint orange, flickering in rhythm with the pulsing light of the Helios beacon. Farah sat hunched over the workbench, sweat beading across her temples, while Larek stood motionless behind her, scanning for any sign of pursuit. Ryan paced the cabin. Every few seconds, his gaze darted toward the glowing artifact. It looked alive now, like it had been waiting centuries for someone to touch it again. We got to find a relay station before the Cadet ships close in, he said, his voice low but urgent. I'm working on it, Farah replied, her hands moving fast. But something strange. The beacon isn't just broadcasting coordinates. There's an encrypted layer, human data patterns, but evolved. It's not supposed to look like this. Ryan frowned. Evolve how? Like it's been learning for the past 200 years. Larek turned, his metallic eyes glowing faintly blue. The beacon's AI core must have survived isolation. It has adapted. Ryan leaned closer. Wait, you're saying it's conscious? Perhaps not conscious, Larek said, but aware, enough to alter its own encryption. Farah looked up from her console. It's locked behind a human DNA key, and the only genome close enough to access it. Ryan finished for her. Is mine. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ryan stepped forward and placed his scarred hand on the beacon's surface. The metal felt warm, almost like skin. The light brightened instantly, wrapping around his fingers, scanning, recognizing. The holographic map expanded into a sphere that filled the entire cabin with light. Ryan's breath caught. Inside the projection were hundreds of routes, ancient star paths annotated with human text. And then a voice. If you are hearing this, you are my legacy. It was a woman's voice. Familiar. Soft. Human. Ryan's knees nearly gave out. That's your mother, Farah whispered. The voice continued. We knew they would erase us. The Concord, the corporations, the historians. They called our exploration myths. So we hid the truth where they'd never look, inside our machines. Inside the stars. Ryan's heart pounded. His mother had known. She had hidden proof of humanity's first voyages within the beacon itself. The holographic data shifted again, showing blueprints, logs, and thousands of digital signatures, all stamped with the same emblem, Earth Expeditionary Network. This, Larek said quietly, is historical proof of humanity's pre-Concord expansion. If we transmit it, it will invalidate Carradin's territorial claim and many others. Farah looked uneasy. That would start a war, Larek. The Concord would never allow humans to regain that much ground. Ryan clenched his fists. So what are you saying? We keep it secret? Let them erase us again. Farah's voice cracked. I'm saying we survive first. Before Ryan could answer, an alarm shrieked through the cockpit. Red lights bathed the interior. Multiple signatures inbound, Larek said. Carrot interceptors, 6 of them. They must have traced the beacon's reactivation pulse. Ryan ran to the controls. Can we outrun them? Unlikely, Larek replied. Our shuttle is not combat rated. We require distraction. Farah turned sharply. You can't mean. I will remain and draw their pursuit, Larek said calmly. Ryan froze. No, you can't. I'm expendable. You are not. The truth must reach the Concord archives. Larek's optics dimmed to a steady blue glow. You humans built machines like me to serve purpose, not self. Allow me mine. Ryan's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to find another way, but the distant vibration of approaching engines left no time. Farah grabbed his arm. He's right. We have to go. The beacon's too important. Larek turned back toward the pilot's seat and activated manual override. I have transferred all navigation control to your module. I will divert the interceptors toward my signal. Farewell, Cadet Cole. Ryan hesitated, then saluted the old Earth gesture that had outlived its origin. You're more human than most of them ever were. For the first time, Larek's faceplate curved into something that might have been a smile. Statistically improbable, he said. Then he sealed the cockpit door. Seconds later, the shuttle split its drive signature in two. Larek's decoy vector peeled away into the void, engines flaring bright as 6 Carradin ships locked onto him. The last Ryan saw was a streak of light vanishing behind the asteroids, followed by the brilliant bloom of distant plasma fire. Farah's hands shook as she guided their remaining vessel through the debris field. He bought us time, she whispered. Ryan stared ahead, jaw tight, eyes burning. The beacon's light still pulsed softly beside him, casting golden reflections across the cabin. He gave us more than time, Ryan said. He gave us a reason to finish this. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into lines as the shuttle leapt to faster-than-light speed, carrying the last proof of humanity's forgotten triumph through the silence of the cosmos. And somewhere behind them, In the ashes of sacrifice, the galaxy's oldest lie began to unravel. The stars blurred into streaks of white as the shuttle tore through the darkness at light speed. Farah's hands were steady on the controls, but her eyes betrayed exhaustion. Behind her, Ryan sat with the Helios beacon resting in his lap, the golden light from its core painting his face with a quiet fire. They had been flying for 19 straight hours, and silence had become heavier than any sound. Larek's last transmission still echoed faintly in the comm logs. Purpose complete. Ryan couldn't bring himself to erase it. Farah finally spoke. "We're approaching the Concorde relay. Once we cross the signal boundary, they'll detect us." Ryan looked up. "Good. That's the point." She turned to him sharply. "You don't understand. If you broadcast this, it won't just expose the consortium. It'll expose the Concorde's entire history. The galaxy will see that humans charted space before half these empires existed. They won't celebrate that. Ryan, they'll fear it." He stared at the beacon. "Then let them." Farah's voice softened. "You could hide it. Keep it safe. Wait until humanity's strong enough to stand on its own." Ryan shook his head. "That's what they've always said. Wait. Prove yourself first. But every time we wait, someone rewrites the stars and cuts Earth out of the story." The beacon pulsed brighter, as if agreeing. He touched its surface and whispered, "We didn't come this far to stay forgotten." Farah sighed, her shoulders sinking. "Then at least make it count." Ryan nodded once. "Transmit everything." Farah hesitated, then pressed the command. The beacon's light exploded into the cockpit, flooding every surface with gold. Streams of data poured out in radiant arcs, each carrying fragments of humanity's past. Navigational hymns, first contact logs, coordinates from ancient missions long erased from history. In distant space, the Concorde Relay Nexus came alive. Dozens of massive satellites blinked on as the human data hit their networks. Transmission logs surged through diplomatic channels, academic servers, and every corporate archive in the sector. Within minutes, the truth was everywhere. Aliens across the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the maps reshaped themselves. Territories once marked, unclaimed, now glowed with the faint blue of human origin. The Shepherd Chain, the Helios Route, the Soul Drift, all human. The myth had become history again. On the shuttle's comm screen, incoming messages began flooding in. Warning beacons, threats, demand for surrender. Farah's hand shook. "They know it was us. We've just started an interstellar scandal." Ryan smiled faintly. "Good. Maybe they'll finally remember who taught them how to look up." Then a new transmission appeared. Unexpected, unmarked. Farah frowned. "It's coming from the Concorde Council itself." The screen flickered, revealing a chamber of alien delegates. Hundreds of species, their holograms flickering in a sea of light. At the center stood the High Arbiter, his form cloaked in shimmering energy. "Human vessel." The Arbiter's voice boomed, translated into perfect Terran English. "You have transmitted unauthorized historical data across regulated networks. State your name and your intent." Ryan stepped forward. "Cadet Ryan Cole, Viral, 9 Academy." My intent was simple, truth. Murmurs rippled across the council chamber. The Arbiter's light pulsed. "You risked war for your pride?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Not pride. Memory. My mother died, trying to prove we were first among the stars. You buried that truth to serve politics. Well, now everyone knows." The chamber fell silent. Then a single delegate, a crystalline being from the Athari system, spoke softly. "The data, it is genuine. Cross-verified against ancient archives. Humanity did chart the early routes." Shock spread through the council. The Arbiter's form flickered uncertainly. "Then it seems we owe your species an apology." Ryan didn't smile. He just stood straighter. "Keep your apology. Just give us back our name on the stars." The transmission cut. Silence returned. Farah stared at him, her eyes wide. "You just told the most powerful beings in the galaxy to their faces that humans were right?" He finished. "Yeah, someone had to." The beacon dimmed slowly, its task complete. Its final pulse cast a faint reflection of Earth's continents across the shuttle wall, a reminder of where it all began. Ryan looked out the viewport. We'll be hunted now. Forrest smiled wearily. Then let's stay lost, like the first explorers did. He nodded, powering the engines. The stars stretched forward once again, endless and waiting. Behind them, the galaxy buzzed with chaos, governments trembling, corporations scrambling, and historians rewriting everything they thought they knew. And for the first time in centuries, one truth rang clear across every corner of space. Humanity had been first. They had conquered the dark not with strength, but with faith, defiance, and a refusal to be forgotten. Ryan glanced at the fading light of the beacon, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, we made them remember." The shuttle vanished into the void, leaving behind the proof that humanity's greatest weapon was never technology. It was the unyielding need to reach farther, fight harder, and stand taller than anyone ever believed they could.